the Bucs defense is going to be versus the Chiefs offense, of course, going to be the highlight of this matchup. I mean, the most EPA per play among all units, defensive DVOA, they're number one, fourth fewest yards allowed per play passing, ninth in points per game allowed, fifth in rushing yards per game allowed. They have Vita Vea, they have Joe Tryon, Devin White, Levante David, Sean Murphy Bunting, Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Winfield Jr. Like they have dudes all over the place on defense. The Bucs are clearly a good defensive team still. They showed that in the Super Bowl. They've shown that over the past few years. They're well coached. They have everything they need to be a thorn in the Chiefs' side. Additionally, the Chiefs have been a thorn in the Chiefs' side over the past couple of weeks because their offensive line can't protect. Shaq Barrett said, they think that they're going to be able to have a coming out party against the Chiefs' offensive line. The wide receiving core hasn't been up to snuff. The run game has been inconsistent. Zack, I think this one, easily the question of the game. Will the Chiefs' offensive line struggle? Will their offensive wide receiver position skill players be exposed? Can the Chiefs' offense silence the doubters against the Bucs, or are they going to let kind of that doubt fuel in?
Yeah, it's just so intriguing to me because I think like after Shaq Barrett's comments, I can see the Sports Center post where it's like either like his comments and then they have like pressure Mahomes on half of his snaps, or they like just totally get shut out. Like I don't think there's this middle ground. It's either the Chiefs offensive line is going to dominate or the Bucs defensive line is going to dominate. Like it just feels like one of those games. And for the Chiefs to win, they kind of need that dominant performance from the offensive line where Orlando Brown Jr. has been struggling. Even a guy like Tooney hasn't been up to his standard where he's still playing at a great level because he's just an excellent player, but he's not playing up to his standard. Creed Humphrey is getting different looks than he was last year. And that's just, second year scouting. And Trey Smith is really struggling with, I guess he has this ankle injury and that might be preventing him from having mobility skills where he would have had last year. But there was like a sack last week where DeForest Buckner just drives him back into the pocket and Mahomes ends up getting sacked by Yeek and Ngakoue. And people credit that to Orlando Brown's fault, but that's just because Trey Smith got driven back and Ngakoue was able to clean it up. So that's really the key matchup. And if the Chiefs can win that up front, and I don't expect them to be running the ball that much because, Vita Vea is in the middle of the field, but if you can just hold for 2-3 seconds and let Mahomes cook, and I don't want to say that. I hate that saying, whatever.
Let Pat cook. You heard it here first. Very original thought by Zack.
Yeah. Let Mahomes just do Mahomes things, then you'll be all right, I think. So in general, it just comes down to that matchup.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's going to be tough. And like, I literally throughout this podcast have flip-flopped my score prediction 5 times. Like every time I kicked it back to you, I was like, man, maybe I should change it. I genuinely don't know. Like I could see this being the Chiefs, quote unquote, figuring it out and then getting going really quickly here. Or I could see this being a rock bottom where, 2-2 obviously isn't a rock bottom. But considering last week, you really have to look yourself in the mirror if you lose this game, especially if it's like in embarrassing fashion.
Yeah, I really think that you'll get to know how this game is going to go within the first 15 plays for the Chiefs offense, because this is a week where like, I'm not going to say like Andy was like hiding stuff last week because they thought they could beat the Colts without like, doing their underhand shovel passes behind the back, like all their, showboating trick moves, whatever you want to go with that. But this is one of those weeks where it's like, okay, like you are playing against another high profile team, you bring your best stuff. So it's going to be really telling how they come out and start. My Siri went off. I don't know. Nope.
Gotta love Siri.
Yeah, it's going to be really telling to see how they start in the way to, to dictate the rest of the game.
Yeah. I'm going to think about my score prediction again. While I kick it back to you, Zack, I want a score prediction and I want a winner and a little bit on why you think the game's going to unfold that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to that last week against with Green Bay and Tampa Bay. And I just think like, okay, like they were running, it wasn't like they were running complicated stuff. It was if Tampa was blitzing Rodgers was winning. And if they weren't, Rodgers was bad. But also at the same time, Rodgers was terrible after the Aaron Jones fumble.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this narrative out there where it's like Aaron Rodgers shuts down after teammates make mistakes and he doesn't trust him. And I don't think Mahomes is that type of guy. So can Andy Reid take stuff from last week in the first half and kind of use that to the Chiefs' advantage? I'm going to say yes, because I think this is a game where not only do they kind of need this game more, like if they won last week and we're 3-0 heading to this week, like I don't think a loss would feel so terrible here. Like it would kind of be expected. You know, you're going on the road against a good team with a good defense, but now like 3-1 is just so much better than 2-2. So I think they're going to come out with their best game plan, hopefully score some opening drive touchdowns. Hope the defense can hold up enough where if guys like, we don't know yet, but if guys like Godwin and Julio are out, the defense will be what, like, I don't know, because it's so hard because like this Tampa hasn't scored 20, I don't think, this year.
Yeah.
No, they did against New Orleans, but that was like on a pick 6, right?
I think so. Yeah. Either way, they've had a bad offensive start. Like regardless of how many points they've scored against you, it's been bad.
Yeah, it's such a weird game because in the past you would be like Brady, Mahomes, 35-38, you know, pick your winner. Like that's where the barn burner comes. And now it's like, okay, is this a defensive battle we're looking at? I came in originally thinking 30-24 Chiefs, and now I'm kind of feeling that's a little too high. So I'm going to go 27-21 Chiefs.
I came into the podcast with 24-21 Tampa. And I'm like, that score prediction sounds about right. I don't think either offense is going to have like a huge game. I don't think it's going to be this like high flying matchup. I think the Chiefs are going to like show progress, but not quite get there offensively. But like, if they only score 21 points and they lose, do they really show that progress? You know what I mean? Like it would take turnovers after a long drive or something. So like my alternate prediction is 28-24 Chiefs. And I'm like, if my logic of they show progression on offense and they score 4 touchdowns, that would be a progression game. And I still don't know which one I want to go with. I know those are obviously 2 different predictions because one of them has Tampa winning, one of them has the Chiefs winning. The Chiefs just did not seem like they wanted to play against the Colts. And it's hard to predict that. And the Chargers game is so weird. I'm going to switch it. I'm going to say they obviously do want to play this game. I'm going to go 28-24 Chiefs, but I don't feel good about it at all. And that's me tossing a coin in my head.